Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of That's So Matthew. Today, I am so excited to have Bethy back again. Say hello.
Hi, I'm back.
This is episode 6 for Bethy. I think that honestly might be a podcast record, and I'm very excited about that because I had a little Taylor Swift moment. When I was teasing this episode, I put 6 exclamation points because it's your 6th episode. So, I am Taylor Swift. Thank you very much. This is also
exactly.
the first That's So Matthew episode that I have recorded in over 3 months. It's kind of crazy because I literally was like, no, I will be able to keep up with my college applications, work, school, a play, everything, and do the podcast. Did not happen. Prioritize your mental health, people. And what better way to kick off That's So Matthew coming back than Scooby-Doo 2002. That's what I always called it as a kid because it's like it rhymes, Scooby-Doo 2002. And I just thought it was so quirky because obviously I am so quirky. And this movie is genuinely one of my favorite movies to watch no matter what time of the year. I watch this movie and revisit it at least 5 times a year. It's just like we said, Bethy, it's so fun to watch. It's not fabulous.
No.
It's also last night when I watched it, it was midnight. So it was kind of late, but it felt so long. I was like, why does it feel so long? But it's so good. It's just so fun.
Yeah.
It's
honestly,
such a childhood movie.
I've gotten so used to watching stuff on Netflix at 1.5 speed just because I can't take the normal pace. So I was watching it super fast and still felt long, but I was enjoying every minute of it.
It's just so fun. There's also a sequel to this one, which I actually talked about it on a podcast a really, really long time ago, 2 years ago, called Scopophilia Podcast. So I'll link that one below. It's my personal favorite of the two, and I will be covering it on the podcast at some point. But so honestly, let's get right into it because I feel like we have so much to talk about. So 2002 Scooby-Doo, it is a live action. It's the first live action because there was this one, and then there was the Cartoon Network one. I don't know if you've ever seen them. So bad, but they're so fun to watch.
Really?
They're so fun to watch. I don't know what the heck they're on, but I just watched them. Maybe HBO Max, which I probably will be canceling because Matthew can't afford that and Zoom Premium. But so this is the first one, and it is so good. It's based off of obviously the Scooby-Doo animated franchise. It stars Freddie Prinze, Sarah Michelle Gellar, icon, Matthew Lillard, Linda Cardinelli, and Rowan Atkinson, and it's basically about the Mystery Incorporated gang as their adult selves, and they have been separated. At the beginning of the movie, we have I always forget what this is called, a prologue, I guess you could say, of them solving
an intro.
their last mystery, and then we see them separate and go their separate ways, and then all of a sudden they all get the same letter to go to this mystery island. So fun. Yeah. So it was released on June 14th, 2002, and had a budget of $84 million. So that is crazy. For a film at this time. It's very occult. It was very negatively received by critics, and I can totally see why, because the plot is just actually insane. If you're watching for plot, this is not the movie because it doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
It's every minute of the film is jam-packed with something is happening, but none of it is really cohesive nor makes sense.
None of it makes sense, actually. In the end, which we will talk about, is so ungodly crazy. Everyone was the script is bad, the humor is bad. Honestly, the humor, I love the humor, but also I love stupid early 2000s humor. So
some of those jokes are really funny. It's at the way end when he's "Don't you mean Melvin do?" That took me out. Oh my God. Okay.
It's just so like it's so like silly. Like I hate the word silly, but like also it's so silly.
Yeah.
But definitely I everyone loves Velma. And it also has like a kind of a cult following. Like I feel like you have to be a diehard fan of this movie to be a fan of this movie. There's no in between. So actually love this movie. Let's honestly get into the first character, which I guess we'll start off with Fred, Mr. Fred Jones. I was never a Fred stan as a kid, like even the animated show. Like I just feel like he's such like a stuck up
Yeah.
like male brat, I guess. Like he just it's like daddy's money boy is like the best way to describe him. But in
Yeah.
this movie, I will be the first to say this man is very fine. And honestly, I didn't hate him in this movie. He's just like kind of annoying still because like it's Fred.
Yeah, exactly. He just like it doesn't seem like he's really like working towards anything that he's like trying to do, like solving the mystery or whatever. But I think that he was like kind of like thoughtful about everything and like seemed like present, you know?
Yeah, I really did not hate him in this movie. I think it's definitely like I think I like him more in this movie if I remember right. It's just because he's just like kind of the leader of the gang, but he's also just like kind of like all over the place
Hmm.
because he's always trying to impress everyone, specifically Daphne, who also is such a slay in this movie. We will talk all about her. But Fred is just he's just kind of there for me. He's definitely like my least favorite member of the gang. Hot take.
I think that just like all of them have really like solid personalities, and then he just like doesn't.
He's just like a blonde. Nothing
Yeah.
against blondes, nothing against blondes. But he is. He's just a blonde, and that's okay. Um
Yeah.
a really great performance from Freddie though, so I feel like I can't hate it. Also, Freddie playing Freddie is like so iconic.
Hmm.
Like cuz I'm just like that's like my kind of vibe. Um so Sarah Michelle Gellar, love her so much. She's such an icon. Um I just have so much to say about Daphne because Daphne is my icon, my legend, everything.
Yeah, literally.
I will not lie. I always used to be a Velma kind of guy. And then all of a sudden something just changed in me and I am a Daphne stan. But I prefer the
Yeah,
live action Daphnes to compare to like the animated series because the animated series is just like Fred, I love Fred. But like I love seeing like independent Daphne.
yeah. And this like I feel like she had like such a like the most like distinct change from like the prologue to like the actual story, you know? Because she was just like so like fiercely independent and like doing her own thing and like so confident in herself, you know?
Yes, because in the beginning she's definitely like the cartoon Daphne in the beginning, but then you see there's a line when they're all at the airport like meeting each other again for the first time and Daphne's like, "Well, I wanted to be an independent woman and solve this myself." And I was like, "Yes, strong women." And I just also her fashion in this movie is giving. Everything is giving the boots, the mini skirts, everything.
Yeah. Like I just love all of it. I feel like they like really stuck with like their distinct colors and everything, but like everything like the way they adapted it from just like the cartoons to like actual clothes that they're wearing was done so well.
Yes, I love that you can definitely tell who each person is. Well, because like my biggest thing with like the Cartoon Network ones is they look so different. So that's why I love in this movie that you can like tell who's who. And also they're like very true to like the cartoon, which is always appreciated because I am a Scooby-Doo stan and always have
Mhm.
been. Wow, I'm just like rhyming up a storm today, and I love that for me. Okay, so Velma, I still love Velma. She is such an icon for me. Personally, I am a fan of second movie Velma more because that's when we see her have her little relationship and we have sexy
Mhm.
Velma. Whole vibe. But in this movie, the thing I like about Velma is that she's just very like also super independent. which I love. Um, I really like how she is like she pretends in the beginning of the movie to like not care about this mystery, but then kind of like warms up and like obviously helps the gang. And they're also the whole premise of this movie, which we will get to in a little bit, is so like ungodly crazy. Like looking back at it, like makes no sense. No sense at
I
all.
like I think that it was written to kind of like flow exactly from start to finish, but it wasn't like planned out like that, you know? Like they just like started working on it and then like came up with the story as they kept going.
No, totally valid because the thing that about this movie that is different from the second movie is it feels like they tried to make write it like an episode of Scooby-Doo.
Mm-hmm.
So it's jam-packed, like as if it's gonna be over in 30 minutes, but it goes on for like an hour and a half. Um, but it also like is trying to like stick to like the very like basic villain trope, which is ends up not being basic and totally like freaking weird, which we will get to. Um, Velma they all just want to solve this mystery on their own at the beginning, but then they all kind of work together. It's very also supernatural, which is very different from the second movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's this one's all supernatural basically, and then the second movie is all like not supernatural, which is a a departure because in like the real Scooby-Doo, or not the real, but like the animated Scooby-Doo, they all are like there's no supernatural aspects whatsoever, and then this one movie is like supernatural. Kind of weird, but like also that doesn't really matter, and I'm just like digging too much into it. Shaggy, whose name is also Norval, high icon.
Norval?
Norval, yeah, like Shaggy's just a nickname. Did you not
That
know
makes
this?
sense. No, I'm a fake fan.
I actually think that in the Cartoon Network ones, they explore it like a lot more. Like there's like a whole origin story. Um,
Mm.
but like, okay, I love Shaggy, and I will be the first to say it. I think Shaggy is absolutely hilarious. Yes, he's a weirdo, but like, who doesn't love him? Like, him and Scooby are my icons.
They really carried a lot of the film.
No, they really did. Also, like, I love that they stayed true to like the whole like food eating thing and like the stupid like dynamic duo because I feel like Scooby Doo is so like well known for that as well.
Hmm.
Shaggy, I also love how he literally looks and sounds exactly like he's from the cartoon. It's so like actually iconic, and I just think that he just deserves like a whole award for this his performance in this movie.
Yeah, like he just like never strayed from character, you know?
Never. And also he's so protective of Scooby, like especially like when like Scooby's soul is being like sacrificed. No idea how we got there. Um he's like so worried about him and they just work together so well and it's so good. I think that out of all of the people like that were like closest to the original, it was definitely Shaggy and for
Hmm.
that I love that. Um So we have Atkinson, who is like the main villain, Emil. Um, what a guy, because the villains in this movie are so like crazy. Because spoiler alert, this guy doesn't even exist. It's actually Scrappy Doo and a little robot. um,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Excuse my French, people. This movie makes absolutely no sense because all of a sudden, Scrappy, who they have like this one little scene where he like runs away because he's like so fed up with the gang, and then you in the end it's revealed that he's like the mastermind, like Taylor Swift
Yeah.
mastermind. Love.
He
Um,
like I don't really know what prompted them to make that happen, you know?
yeah, I
Like
think
Scrappy
they thought
Doo
that it was
didn't need to
so
be included at
great.
all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they definitely were like, oh my god, this is the best plot that we've ever come up with. They're like, this is so unexpected, no one's gonna see it coming, and then they gave us that.
And like because they included Scrappy Doo, they had to include the bad CGI of like him getting like huge in the end, and like the like old dirty like actual person who was the robot, and then like the weird animatronic robot, like it just led to a lot of stuff that I don't feel like was like really true to like what Mystery Inc. like the cartoon was, you know?
Yeah. Um I also like have like this like big thing about this movie that I don't like, and that's the CGI. The CGI in this movie is kind of horrible.
It like I think for the time it was
Good.
fine-ish. But like then you look at like Finding Nemo, and like they could have done so much better.
They could have done so much better. The second one is definitely a little bit better.
Mm.
It's just like this whole thing like of like the owner of the spooky amusement park being Scrappy Doo is so like in crazy. Like it's so crazy. Like it's so insane. It does not make any sense whatsoever. And that's my biggest like thing against this movie is that it just doesn't make sense. Like compared to like
Yeah,
the original Mystery Inc.
like how did Scrappy Doo take down the entire owner of the island? Like and like convince all those people to like come there, you know? Like it didn't make any sense.
And like he's a robot, like he's a dog in a robot controlling costume, and like Scrappy is just it's such like a weird plot point. And like I know we've been talking about this for like forever, but it's just like in the second movie, at least we have like an actual like villain like origin story thing. Like with
Mhm.
Scrappy, it's just like why is he like against the whole gang? Like there's like one little scene because he gets like thrown out of like the van and then he just becomes this evil mastermind. Like
Mhm.
it doesn't make sense. And it just is it's funny. Like it's funny as hell. I will not lie. Like every time it gets to the scene where like Scrappy Doo is revealed and then he like you said the big CGI, it's so
Yeah.
hilarious. It's hilarious. Like I was literally in bed like I said this is so I started it at like 12:30. So like it probably would have been like 2-ish. So like it was late and the scene he is growing and I'm like, "Oh my God. Like this is comedy gold." Unintentionally.
Yeah. And like it's
Um,
funny because it's so bad.
yes. So also Mary Jane, which is like the girl that is in like that Shaggy is in love with. Um, love love her character TBH. She like meets him on like the plane at the beginning. Turns out that she's been possessed by a devil of some sort.
Yeah.
Okay. Thoughts on okay, so this is like gonna be a really like broad conversation on the supernatural aspects of this movie. It makes no sense because like how is Scrappy Doo able to infest demons and ghosts into people? And it just I want to like don't get me wrong, I love this movie and I will still watch this. Like I said, I watch this like 5 times a year. Just for like fun. And so I will be watching it probably before the end of the year because that's just me. And I'll watch the second one and then I'll go back and watch the Cartoon Network ones because I have no life. But like it's just it's so weird like the supernatural stuff and like it's all just like in your face. Like you said, they definitely like wrote this and they're like this is the best thing we've ever done. Groundbreaking. The plot just is really confusing and makes no sense because Mary Jane, the whole thing is that she is like trying to like get them on the island and like possess them, and she's part of like the cult, which we haven't even touched the cult yet. Um, and then she's like possessed by a demon, and then this whole thing. She's also allergic to dogs, which is like the whole funny plot point. Oh my God, I'm allergic to dogs, but I'm like have to hang around this dog and this crazy guy and pretend to be in love with him.
All I will say is that Scooby-Doo on the plane dressed up as the grandma was so funny. Like,
I
yeah.
love it. I live for it actually because it's such a stupid like we said the humor in this movie is just so funny. Like untraditionally like it's funny and especially considering this came out 20 years ago, which crazy. Didn't really think about that till now cuz 2002, 2022.
Yeah.
Um but it's still as funny to this day, which is something that I feel like so many movies are lacking.
Hmm. Hmm.
So many movies are lacking. Okay, Cult. So in this movie, My least favorite thing about this movie as a kid was actually the cult scenes because for some reason young Matthew had like this fear of cults, kind of still do. So specifically there's like this haunted house at Six Flags and it's themed to a cult and like I'm terrified of it. Like literally
Yeah.
the last like weekend of work they did this thing where all the supervisors would go in the haunted house and like scare the like team members and so I got to go through it with some of my best friends, but they made me go first because I'm obviously like a super strong like guy and like not scared of anything. And
Yeah.
I was terrified. The cult, like they weren't even dressed like they were from the cult, like the normal people, but I was terrified because just the thought, like they have all these weird symbols and there's like this chanting music and like I just hate cults. So in this movie, there's like this whole scene where they're like chanting like underneath and it's like very like Hawaiian chanty. And then they start like sacrificing souls and this all takes place underneath the island. Um, how can you be underneath an island?
I don't really know because like everything is like in like a cave, but like there's like vast tunnels leading up to the cave
Vast.
and
That's a
like
nice word.
yeah, call me a linguist.
Linguist.
But, but like the like I don't know, it just feels like Daphne was like crawling under the stuff and then she like popped out like on the like roof, but like I don't know, it just all seemed very not like structurally sound.
Yeah, definitely, like I said, makes no sense, but it's so terrifying. The whole cult scene, everything is so terrifying. We didn't even like really talk about Scooby because like he's not a human, but Scooby in this movie is iconic, hilarious, sounds just like the cartoon. The CGI kind of sucks. Um,
It's not actually not that bad.
it's not that bad, but like
Like,
for 2022,
yes, yes. For
it,
Scooby, it's not that bad. For all of the monsters and like the soul and stuff and Scrappy Doo, very bad.
Scrappy. So funny. All right. So, honestly, let's jump into the crazy hectic plot. So, like we said, we've got the whole Mystery Incorporated solving the mystery of this ghost at a factory. Which the opening scene is so I love it. It's one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. It's like I'm gonna call it the prologue, kind of. Um, they have like the whole thing between Fred and Daphne. Um, and she's like being I just think that it's so like they're like just trying to show that the gang is falling apart at the seams. Just like my life, TBH, love that. So and then Fred, because Fred, like we said, is like that blonde and really stuck up. He literally is like, he always takes the credit for everything, and
Yeah.
that's not a vibe.
Mm-mm.
And so we also have this whole thing where they start disbanding, and then Scooby and Shaggy they get the van, the Mystery Machine, which is kind of iconic because I feel like they're like the underappreciated members of the gang, but they got the Mystery Machine.
Yeah.
So iconic for them. And then they have like this little flash forward where 2 years later, they're all invited to solve this mystery on a horror themed tropical resort called Spooky Island. Ooh, iconic. I love the word spooky. And
Yes.
so we have Emil who's like this owner, and he's believing that these tourists are being brainwashed to be part of this like cult cave thing. But it turns out, like we said, Emil is Scrappy Doo, which we don't learn until the very end of the movie. So right off the bat, I loved that the gang was all called together to be part of this mystery. I love that they were all like, I'm gonna solve this mystery by myself, and then they'll end up solving it together. I also just love the intro with Emil, and he like is like trying to like make it seem like he's not the villain, but we all know.
Yeah. Like I don't know. The entire story is like evil because of his plot and like the way that he wanted to get them there. But then he's just like, yes, we love you. You need to solve this mystery. Like, no, you already know what the mystery is. It's you.
It it's you. Um, yeah, I just think that it's super iconic start to the movie. Um, so Scooby and Shaggy are trying to like get the gang back together to solve this mystery, but then everyone else is like, we're gonna do this on our own. Um, then we've got Valma goes to the thing where like the first cult scene, like the ritual, terrifying for me. I actually am terrified of like the cult rituals. The first one is particularly scary for me, not gonna lie. And then it's basically like saying how demons have like ruled this island ever since like the resort was built. So that's basically like why they're like insinuating there's this whole like angry devil devil like thing.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, Shaggy's falling in love with Mary Jane, which is that one girl. That's what I'm gonna call her, that one girl. That she's there to just
that
like
one girl.
get them to like to for Shaggy to fall for her. Man has absolutely no riz whatsoever. I just think that's the best way to describe it because I'm seeing all these TikToks where it's like the riz, the unspoken riz and stuff. So, really funny. I think I'm hilarious
Yeah.
actually. He just needs to like learn how to talk to women, which, totally valid for you, buddy. Um, but it also means that he's like distancing himself from Scooby, which is boo,
Yeah.
because we
Like,
love Scooby.
mm-hmm. And I feel like the entire thing, he's just like so swept up with Mary Jane that like Scooby doesn't really have like a deep connection with the rest of the gang members other than Shaggy. And like once Shaggy leaves, like Scooby's just like kind of all by himself. And then like that ends up like getting him into like super dangerous situations, you know?
Yes. Yeah. I had like something to say and then it just like is gone because like I just got like 18 Instagram notifications because someone just spammed my Instagram and I hate when that happens because it makes me super like
Ah,
it weirds me out, not gonna lie. This is such a like change of topic, but like if you like go through and like everyone's Instagram posts, like that's so weird. It's so weird. Thank you for that. Um so this leads to them to go to the haunted house, which is one of my all-time favorite scenes. It's so iconic. Um and Velma and Fred go into like this little classroom. Daphne discovers this pyramid. I believe they call it like the demon something. Then
the Damon Wright, yeah.
yeah, Damon, like Matt Damon. That's so
Yes.
random. Love. So then we have Fred, Velma, and the guy Emil are all kidnapped, and then they get possessed by the demons. And I'm pretty sure that this is the scene where they all start switching bodies. What was that? What was
I
that?
I think that they were trying to do it for like a bit, but like it wasn't all that funny. Like the way that Fred was joking about like touching Daphne and like that was not good. And like I don't know, the scene just like I think they were trying really hard to make it funny and it just like wasn't.
They were trying so hard, and it's really funny because, like I said, the whole supernatural ghost aspect and like things that would actually never happen that happen in this movie are just a lot for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also low key wish that they would have just kept the supernatural out of this movie. Mm, but it's so funny. Like the scene where they're switching bodies is so funny because they're trying so hard that like I kind of love it. But then Scooby tries to tell Shaggy that Mary Jane is this demon because he sees like this little transformation where like her face starts like ripping off or something. It's it's
Yeah,
it's
they're
weird.
like riding on like the bikes, and then she like turns to Scooby and is like ripping her face off and is like trying to scare him.
Real weird.
Yeah, like also it didn't make sense that like Mary Jane had like the same personality with Shaggy, you know, because she had like the green like breath, which made it seem like she was like a demon, but then um like she was still like in the later scene, she was talking to Shaggy and she was like, no, like in a man's voice. So like it made it seem like she was just like a guy pretending to be Mary Jane instead of like a demon had overtaken her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so weird. The plot makes no sense. I okay, like TBH, I agree with the critics. It's kind of bad, but it's so fun. It's just a fun time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what else do you do after like feasting on Thanksgiving? You watch this movie at 12 a.m. Like,
Yes.
uh so then Scooby goes missing. So Shaggy goes in search for this, and that's when he comes across the protoplasm, which is like all these souls of like that everyone that got possessed.
Hmm.
He frees Daphne, Fred, and Velma's, but then they like discover that like sunlight destroys the demons. So at this point, I'm thinking they're going full supernatural. Like this whole thing is just like absolutely insane, like grown up Scooby-Doo. Um, but then it's this is where it gets even crazier because then we have the voodoo priest. Oh my god. This scene terrifies me. I hate voodoo.
Hmm.
I hate like cults. This like basically this whole episode is basically me talking about Scrappy, cults, and I don't know, Fred being hot. I don't know. Like it's bad. But cults terrify me. So this scene is so scary for me because they're like trying to like perform this they call it like darka darkapocalypse. It's like it's kind of like apocalypse but it's not. Where they will like sacrifice souls to rule this world for 10,000 years if a pure soul is sacrificed to the daemon ritus, like you said.
Yeah.
So, um, who does everyone think that this pure soul is? Because everyone's probably like, it's gonna be a human. No, it's a dog named Scooby-Doo. And it's so weird because the whole gang is like, wait, it's Scooby. Like, why would you sacrifice your dog's like soul?
Yeah, like I don't know. It
It's
just
it's weird.
it didn't feel like there was like actual like intention behind making that, and they just like wanted to kind of like up the stakes of the whole mystery, you know?
Yeah. It's so funny. Um, so then they believe that Scooby was brought to Spooky Island for this very reason, but then they work together with Shaggy to save Scooby from his soul being collected for this Darkopolypse kind of vibe. So then they infiltrate this ritual. He is sacrificing the soul, like Emil, the man, is sacrificing the soul. So at this time, everyone's like, oh, he's like this good guy just trying to save the island. No, he's sacrificing a dog's soul because he's weird. Like, but it gets better because it's like, then it turns out that this guy is like Shaggy, or not Shaggy, Scrappy. Scrappy, I already forgot his name. Scrappy Doo, Mr. Scrappy Doo, is back from crazy. And he is like just so like it's so weird. It makes no sense at all.
Yeah, it just like again, it kind of felt like they didn't really know what they were doing and were just like making stuff up as they were going on.
No, definitely because there's like this really random one scene. I don't know when it comes into the movie because my notes are like really bad because it's like 12 a.m. But there's this one like random scene where Scrappy Doo is just thrown out of the van. So then it's like you got I guess you could foreshadow that it's like about Scrappy, but like it's just a really random scene. But then all of a sudden it's revealed that Emil is Scrappy and it's this just giant robot thing. So Scrappy is trying to sacrifice Scooby, which is hilarious, TBH. Not gonna lie to you.
Yeah. Like hot take, they could have just like not included Scrappy in like the backstory scene and then just like made like Mr. Monteverius like Emil like the actual villain and just have him be like, oh well, like I just wanted to be famous so that like they would write an article about like my like island and get more like tourists instead of like having it be Scrappy and just like him wanting to take over the whole world. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because we haven't even got to my literally the most hilarious part to me is when Scrappy absorbs everyone's souls and turns into a giant monster.
It looks so bad.
It
Like,
looks so bad. It's so weird. Why are souls being able to be absorbed into Scrappy? He tries to kill the whole like Mystery Incorporated gang too.
yeah, that just like didn't make any like 1 ounce of sense.
Um, my other favorite part is when Daphne kills all of the demons by this disco ball.
That was so wonderful. Like,
That was so wonderful.
like I am all for like the way that Daphne like sort of like uses her femininity to like take down everything, you know?
Yes, she slayed. Actually, I think that's the first time I've said slay this podcast episode, guys. Be proud of me. I'm working on it.
You're healing.
I just hate saying it so much, and over the summer, I think I said it in so many episodes, and I'm just was like, now I'm like trying to get my life back together, guys. But I just need to say it. Daphne slayed. So that's my 2 times. I will not say it again. Okay. So then all of the demons return to their bodies, and then Shaggy frees the rest of the souls. Mondavarius is like imprisoned. Because remember, Scrappy like imprisoned him and then made a robot version of him. Because that makes sense. Also, my
Yeah,
other
'cause this
thing
is
that I
like
thought was
totally a
hilarious
plausible thing.
is like Scrappy's like standing on stilts because he's so like small to like be Mondavarius. Um, so he like it's like revealed that he's like a double. Then Scrappy and all of these villains are arrested, and then Mystery Inc. reunites. Love, but there's a little mid-credits scene which is so cute. It's Shaggy and Scooby, and they're like eating at this restaurant. It's like the all-you-can-eat restaurant because they love their food, and it's like how the island delivered on their promise of these all-you-can-eat buffets.
Yeah.
Real cute ending. Okay, that's so much. So this movie, like I said, in the rating, I'm taking a couple things into account. How much I love watching it, how it makes no sense, and how Scrappy Doo just rules this movie for no reason. So, TBH, if I was giving this an enjoy factor, I'd give it a 10 out of 10 because I enjoy it every time, even though
Yeah.
it's crazy. But realistically, this movie sucks. So I'm gonna give it like maybe like a 7 out of 10, which is still very high for me. But like it's just so fun to watch. I can never get tired of it. And it's hilarious because it's bad.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like, okay, critically, the fashion was done very well. The set was really nice. Um, all of the like actors like really committed to like everything they were doing. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10. But like in terms of like fun that I have while watching it, like 8 or 9. So like 6.5 out of 10.
Okay, like critically, if I'm being critical, probably also a 3 or 4. But like enjoy factor is definitely like a 7, 8 out of 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that's basically it. It's so fun. I'm really glad this was my first podcast episode back because it's such a fun movie. It's one of my all-time faves. I probably will be up at 12 a.m. watching the second one tonight because I have no life, like I said. But yes. So thank you so much, Bethy, for coming back on the podcast. It's always a
Yeah,
pleasure
of
to have
course.
you. We have done, okay, let's see. Matthew's gonna test his memory. We did Pitch Perfect 2. Or did we do
Yes.
1? I think we did 2.
I'm pretty sure it was 2.
I'm pretty sure it was 2. We did Pitch Perfect 2. We've done Ella Enchanted.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but there was one before that. Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1.
Yeah.
Part 1. Oh. Okay, then. Okay, now I'm back in order. So then third one would have been Ella Enchanted. Then Luck of the Irish.
Mm-hmm.
And Twitches 2.
You're so smart.
And this is episode 6. Like I said, my little Taylor Swift mastermind moment with my 6 exclamation points. And the post was like,
Mhm.
what's new? Because it's like, what's new, Scooby-Doo? I'm good. You guys don't have to tell me. But thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all the places at That's So Matthew. And I'm going to try and post a new episode every single Friday. Let's see how long that lasts. I've got a ton of episodes coming up that I'm recording, but will I edit them and publish them on time? The real question of the day. Thank you so much. Um, I had such a blast. You guys can listen to and rate the podcast wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to leave a 5-star review so that this podcast can reach more people. And if you guys have any episode suggestions, you can shoot me an email at thattomatthewpodcast@gmail.com. I love responding to emails. I'm like a 40-year-old mom. That's my new thing, is responding to emails. So please send me an email so I can feel validated. Thank you so much. Oh, wait. Sorry. Validate me. Validate me. Thank you. Had to throw that in, Bethy. It's my favorite. I say that all the time just because of you.
Really?
Yeah, it's like my go-to like phrase. But yes, thank you so much. That's So Matthew, listeners. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you all in another episode again soon. Bye.